every single firm in the country that argues for or against a specific stock is a market manipulator.
In this video, we hear from Meet Kevin Pathrath, talking about RoaringKitty. What you're about to hear should change your thoughts on Meet Kevin and perhaps enlighten you on RoaringKitty. You're not going to like this. Those of you that are all behind Keith Gill, you're not going to like it. But remember, Meet Kevin is purely and simply trying to get your vote and your subscription. He'll do anything he can to get views. Let's have a listen. I'll let him do the talking for me. Here we go.
There is a lot of noise about market manipulation. Is Keith Gill, RoaringKitty, Deep Effing Value, a market manipulator?
Yes, 100%. And what you're about to hear now would be a very different story if RoaringKitty was manipulating his ETF, which we know he famously rang the bell at the New York Stock Exchange. So let's listen to what Meet Kevin says to suck up to all the fans of RoaringKitty, to resort to the lowest base level to get everyone who may support RoaringKitty, and there are millions, to join his band of merry men. I won't do anything here to gain subscribers. I'm here to build the most honest, real channel in the world, not the biggest one. Me and Meet Kevin have very different values when it comes to that.
In this video, I'm going to give you a securities insider point of view of how an argument could be made that Keith Gill is a market manipulator. But first, I'd like to ask you this. If Keith Gill is indeed a market manipulator, then I have to say, so is every person in Congress who gets to hide their trades for 4.
So what we're doing, we're starting off by resorting to the lowest level of intelligence here to try to get everyone who's currently angry with the government, currently fighting with each other. We've got elections coming up where everyone's making noise and screaming and shouting. So what he wants to do is appeal to those who are angry with the government. Straight off, he starts with the government. These are completely different things, but we'll let him say his piece.
45 to 90 days. Every hedge fund or short seller who posts a research piece on Twitter or social.
Secondly, hedge funders, the next biggest searched term for RoaringKitty fans. He's very strategic, very clever with this.
Social media and says, this company is a scam. Meanwhile, they have weekly put options on it to profit millions of dollars. Then every single institution on Wall Street who has a thesis and places a bet on it and then uses their clout, their name, Barclays, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, then...
These are Meet Kevin's friends, by the way. He has his own ETF on Wall Street. Let's be absolutely clear about this.
Every single firm in the country that argues for or against a specific stock is a market manipulator. Now, that's my opinion.
Yep. And I want every single subscriber of RoaringKitty's to subscribe to me because I've got a private jet to pay for. He'll do anything he can here to convince you, and it's not going to be difficult at all.
But I'm going to show you where the argument could be made if they really wanted to press it as to how Keith Gill could be deemed a market manipulator. Now, I want to be exceptionally clear. I think what Keith Gill is doing is, frankly, free speech, social media influence, doesn't matter, good for him.
So anybody that loves RoaringKitty now is, I love Meet Kevin, he's behind it. Well, he wouldn't be if he was playing around with his ETF, but let's carry on.
But I think you have the right to share what positions or trading ideas you have, just like any hedge fund, any short seller, or any institution, or quite frankly, the congressmen and women who constantly outperform the market. With that said, let's go into how the securities industry actually works. First things first, there are a lot of folks referencing the E-Trade potential of kicking Keith Gill off the platform. All right. First of all, this is a terrible leak from E-Trade because this could lead them to get canceled by social media. People love Keith Gill, and this is a very stupid and bad PR move for each.
No, it's not. It's very responsible. It's a very responsible thing to do. You can't be held to ransom by someone like this because you might lose views. I understand, Meet Kevin, this is not the way you'd operate, of course, because, hey, if I say the wrong thing, like I am doing now, many people won't agree with me and won't subscribe to me. It doesn't matter. I'm not trying to grow subscribers. I'm just trying to be the best, most honest channel. Of course, it's not good for publicity, and it's not good for you. I understand where you're coming from. However, it's the right and responsible thing to do. I applaud E-Trade.
E-Trade. Sorry, E-Trade. This is a big oopsie doopsie. Now, why would E-Trade do it? Well, E-Trade would do it because as a broker-dealer, they are responsible to regulators for making sure that their clients aren't manipulating the market. So if FINRA can allege that E-Trade is failing to supervise Keith, then E-Trade could lose its broker-dealer license and go bankrupt.
That is a real stretch, Meet Kevin, and you know it. The reason why they're doing this, and the same reason as Robinhood froze trades on this when GameStop was going through its last short squeeze, was to protect the brokerage. Now you might go, well, that's not very nice, is it? It's done the same way as all banks have to bring down the drawbridge of of people when they go to the bank and try to take all their money out. You'd have a bank run. The system would collapse. It's lovely to think that we can all just make money out of nothing and do what we like, but in reality, the system would break. It wouldn't work. It absolutely would not work if we let this nonsense carry on. It's the responsible thing to do. And Meet Kevin is doing anything to appeal to those that don't understand it, to subscribe to his channel, desperate for anything to get views.
So there's a lot at play here. Now, there has been a fine related to Keith Gill in the past. In fact, if you scroll down, this has been talked about a lot. Back when Keith Gill worked at MassMutual, mind you, he holds a bunch of securities licenses. In fact, we talked about this over at ehack.com. We talked about, I think he has a Series 24, which is actually a pretty tough one. Yeah, here it is. He has a 63, 65, 7, 3, 24, and the SIE.
All of these qualifications are very, very important, and the fact you have these, you need to respect the qualifications, and they do allow you to gain information that perhaps you wouldn't normally have and manipulate the market. This is the very definition of this. He's a Wall Street trader, and he used that power to manipulate the market for himself.
Interesting. I have the 63, 65, 7, 24, 27, and the SIE. I don't have the 3. But anyway, very interesting. Some of these are actually very hard licenses to get. But there's this talk about how MassMutual agreed to pay a $4 million fine back in 2021 to settle an inquiry from state regulators about market manipulation potentially. But when you actually go into the details, it's not because Keith Gill was deemed to be a market manipulator. It was because of a failure to supervise Keith Gill. And now this gets really arcane, and I'm going to make this very, very simple.
That's what you need to do, because that's the sort of people that are going to... This is very calculated, folks. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's going to get hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I'm going to lose subscribers, but it doesn't matter to me. I'm more about doing the right thing, not desperate to make money to buy another plane.
Let's say the speed limit on a highway is 65 miles an hour.
Keep it simple.
And let's say you wrote down that I promise not to go over 55 miles an hour. And then you get pulled over for going 64 miles an hour. In the world of driving, did you violate the law? No. It doesn't matter what you wrote down.
Correct.
The law is 65 miles an hour. You didn't violate the law. Fine. You follow the rules of the vehicle code. Fair game. In the securities industry, if the rules of the security industry applied to driving, and you wrote down, we will not go faster than 55 miles an hour, and you went 64 and got pulled over, did you violate the law? Yes. See, in the securities industry, when you have a manual and you say you're going to do something, and you don't do it, you violate the law. You have to then pay fines, or you potentially get kicked out of the industry. That's really bad. And so that's what happened when Mass Mutual was fined $4 million. They say here that the firm had a policy against employees discussing securities on social media, but they didn't actually monitor Keith Gill's social media activity. Now, they could have avoided having to pay that $4 million fine if they didn't have a policy prohibiting their employees from talking about stocks on social media. So they kind of fell on their own sword. That's their fault. That's not Keith's fault. So just because there was a fine in the past does not mean Keith Gill was at fault here. Okay, interesting. So where is the potential argument that Keith Gill could be a market manipulator? All right. Well, first, let's start with the easy one. If you just Google market manipulation, you get a very, very simple description from the SEC, and it's spreading false or misleading information about a company. I don't believe what's happening here with Keith Gill at all. Engaging in a series of transactions to make a security appear more actively traded. This is called painting the tape. It's basically when you're, like, let's say, not that it would make a difference to Apple stock, but let's say you had 100 shares of Apple stock, you bought it, and then you sold it. That's 200 shares of volume. Then you did it again. That's 200 shares of volume. Again. You create like 1,000 shares of volume with no intention of actually having 1,000 shares of volume actually being there. The only purpose is to create volume for the purpose of creating volume, which is a scam. That's not what appears to be happening here. Rigging quotes or prices or trades to make it look like there's more or less demand for a security. That's not what's happening here either. Microcap stocks are more susceptible. Okay, well, those are stocks between $50 million to $300 million. You can actually see that right here. But that's...
Let me just comment to this. What Meet Kevin is trying to do is look at what is regarded as stock manipulation, the same way as people will Google this and find that out. He's missing the point completely. This is a new style of manipulation that's happening here. He knows it. If it was happening to his ETF, he would think very, very differently about this. Basically, essentially what is happening, it's not in those few guidelines there that you can simply type into Google. What is happening here is we are creating a false market. RoaringKitty knows that with his, first of all, he understands that we are coming up to an election. He understands there's a lot of anger in the world, a lot of frustration. People are very, very volatile now, very, very predictable. People are greedy, then they're selfish. He understands that. He understands that he can appeal to the base level by, wearing a bandana sideways and all this kind of stuff, telling everybody how to get rich. The things that are concerning the SEC are not in Google or not in those statements there. They are something very different, and they are all about creating a false market. What we've got right now is the stock market was built primarily so people, originally Wall Street would trade, big institution would trade, and then recently the average man on the street has been able to trade and get involved and be an investor. That's all a good thing, thanks to Robinhood. Trouble is though, people get carried away with their new found power. Meet Kevin is exactly that. He never met his audience in person like I have done around the world as the world piano man. I think he used to work in a fast food chain. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. I did a short time of that many years ago. But he got very famous very quickly on YouTube, and he knows how to use his influence. And that's exactly what RoaringKitty's doing. So what people are doing, they're buying. They're not doing this on Apple. They're not doing this on Amazon. They're doing this on rubbish, junk stocks. They're buying a stock they can easily manipulate. A game they can easily play. They wouldn't do it with Amazon or Apple or Google or Microsoft or Nvidia. That'd be too difficult and they'd all lose their money. They're doing it on a weak position, which is exactly what Meet Kevin is doing right now. He's appealing to a very, very easy audience, an audience he can manipulate. So I'm coming on here now knowing that this won't be popular, but it doesn't matter to me because it's the truth. And at the end of the day, I can go to bed at night knowing I've done the right thing. There's no doubt about it. RoaringKitty, he's using his social media presence to be able to excite people who are frustrated and angry. That the purpose of the SEC in many areas, not it's not its entire position, but many of the rules that are set out by the SEC are to protect people from people, like pattern day trading. Pattern day trading, the law was written in there not to protect Wall Street. It was there to protect the individual trader from themselves, from gambling. That's why pattern day trading exists. It's not there to protect Wall Street. It's there to protect the potential gambler. And you've got people like Omar with millions of followers. He is a gambler. He's gambling in Vegas, getting everyone to follow him. Meet Kevin, doing everything he can to appeal to the lowest base level, to excite everybody, because everybody's frustrated and angry and wants to make money, and they don't want to wait, and they don't want to be patient. They want to be instantly making money, so they follow Meet Kevin, and hopefully that will and follow RoaringKitty, and hopefully they'll get rich. The reality is, most people that follow RoaringKitty will lose their money. Most people that follow Meet Kevin will lose their money. Meet Kevin will always make money because he'll appeal to those that will watch his videos and subscribe to him, and because he's like on the side now of the people's champion. Even though I will lose subscribers, even though not many people will want to watch this video, it doesn't matter. It's the right thing to say. And that seems to be lost today. People aren't interested in what's right and wrong. They're interested in just taking advantage of their position. And the SEC know that, but they don't currently have that written down. How do you quantify? How do you legislate against this, where you've got somebody using their influence to create a false market? Nobody really wants to buy GameStop. It's just been used as it's the lowest common denominator. It appeals to those sort of people that can be influenced. The stock's on its arse. It's not worth anything. It's low picking fruit. It's easy. They wouldn't do it against a major stock. And Meet Kevin would be very, very different if this was his stock. If this was his ETF, he would feel very differently about it. Anyway, there's my 2 pennies worth. I know I won't get many views. I know many of you won't subscribe to this, but that doesn't matter. I know I've done the right thing. I'm not here to grow the biggest YouTube channel in the world, but I'm here to grow the best, the most honest. Meet Kevin, carry on, keep making your millions, and keep manipulating the market, and keep working to the lowest common denominator just to get more views. I respect what you've done as a YouTuber, but I'm not impressed by your acumen at all. I think you'll do anything to get views, and you've just demonstrated that. The fact you've come on here to try to appeal to those that think RoaringKitty is great. Click above my head if you want more information like this, down below in the description. Over here and over here, I'll put other videos that might be useful to you. Until next time, as always, take care of yourselves and each other.